July 1942. The Eastern Front is burning. German crews fire again and again.
And watch their shells bounce off the same Soviet tank like stones off a church wall. The T-34 rolls forward untouched.
And in that moment, many German soldiers begin to believe something terrifying. This machine cannot be killed. Late afternoon, south of Voronezh. Smoke hangs low, thick and oily, drifting across the battlefield.
3 German Panzer IVs burn where they stopped, their steel hulls warped, blackened, silent. The smell is rubber, fuel, scorched earth, and something worse that no one wants to name. Oberstreiter Klaus Hartmann sits beside his Pak-38 anti-tank gun, methodically cleaning the barrel. His hands are dark with oil and powder. He scrubs the metal the same way he has 1,000 times before, slow and automatic, because stopping would mean thinking. Earlier that day, his unit fired 26 shells at advancing T-34s.
Not one penetrated.
4 men from his gun crew are dead. Torn apart when a single 76mm shell from a Soviet tank erased their position in one blast. Hartmann survived only because he had been 30 meters away, hauling ammunition when it happened. Now the sun is sinking, turning the smoke orange.
Hartmann keeps cleaning, but his eyes drift.
50 meters away, behind a low rise of dirt, sits a destroyed T-34.
Not killed by German guns. Stukas hit it the night before. A bomb landed close enough to crack it open and burn it from the inside out. The tank is black, dead, empty. And yet, something about it bothers him. He can't explain it. Just a tight feeling in his chest. An instinct. Everyone on the Eastern Front knows the T-34.
Introduced before the war even reached its peak, it shattered German expectations.
Sloped armor. Thick steel angle just right. A powerful diesel engine.
Wide tracks that move easily through mud and snow where German tanks bog down. But armor is the real nightmare. 45mm on the front, but angled so sharply it behaves like nearly double that.
German shells strike and slide away.
Even heavier guns struggle beyond short range.
And while German crews reload, the T-34 fires back hard and deadly. Entire units have been wiped out learning this lesson. Hartmann finishes cleaning the gun.
He should stay where he is. Orders are orders.
But curiosity pulls harder than discipline. He stands and walks toward the destroyed tank.
Each step kicks up dust still warm from the day's heat. The battlefield is quiet now, but distant artillery rumbles like a storm far away. As Hartmann gets closer, the tank grows larger, no longer a rumor or a threat, but a real thing.
He reaches out and touches the armor. It's still warm.
The surface is rough, scarred, layered with soot and burned metal. He circles the hull slowly, studying it like a craftsman examining a broken machine. On the front plate, he sees the marks.
German hits. Many of them. Deep scars, but none that went through. Then he moves to the side. And stops.
Right where the turret meets the hull, he sees a weld line.
At first, it looks normal. Every tank has welds. But this one looks wrong. Hartmann crouches down. He pulls out his field knife and scrapes gently at the blackened metal. The soot flakes away. The weld isn't smooth. There's a step.
A slight offset where 2 armor plates meet, not perfectly aligned. The turret ring, the part that lets the turret rotate, sits over thinner steel than the main armor.
Hartmann leans closer.
His heart begins to beat faster.
The side armor should be 45mm. But here, right here, it looks thinner. Maybe 35. Maybe less. And it's not sloped. That matters. He moves to the other side of the tank. The same thing. This isn't damage. It's design. All T-34s must have this. Hartmann stands up slowly. Numbers run through his mind. Ballistic tables. Training lessons.
He remembers what the Pak-38 can do at 400 meters.
At 500. Against flat armor, thinner than the front. It might work. He turns and runs. Back through the dust.
Back past the burned tanks.
Back to the German line. Captain Steiner is standing with other officers, bent over a map. Hartmann stops short. You don't interrupt a captain. But Steiner looks up. He sees Hartmann's face. What is it? Steiner asks. Hartmann swallows. Sir, I need to show you something.
On the destroyed T-34.
Steiner frowns. It can wait.
No, sir, Hartmann says, his voice tight.
It can't. I think I found a weak point. Silence. One officer laughs softly. A weak point on a T-34? But Steiner doesn't laugh. He's known Hartmann too long. He folds the map. Show me.
They walk together into the fading light. The sky burns red near the horizon. Somewhere far away, guns thunder.
Hartmann leads Steiner to the tank, points to the weld seam, explains what he saw. Steiner kneels down.
He lights a small flame and studies the metal closely, tracing the line with his eyes.
Minutes pass. Hartmann says nothing. Finally, Steiner stands.
If this is real, he says quietly, it could save a lot of men. The night closes in over the battlefield.
Somewhere beyond the darkness, Soviet tank columns are already moving. The next morning comes cold and gray. Hartmann hasn't slept.
He stands beside Steiner and several senior officers at first light, gathered again around the burned-out T-34.
Measuring tools click against steel. Notes are written. Numbers whispered. After long minutes, Steiner straightens.
The armor here is thinner, he says.
37 millimeters. No slope. That is enough.
At that thickness, a PaK-38 can punch through if the shot is perfect.
The problem is the target.
A strip of steel no higher than a man's hand.
In combat. Under fire.
Some call it impossible.
Hartmann doesn't. Because impossible is firing straight at a T-34 and hoping to live. Orders are given. A test is arranged.
A gun is moved into position.
Distance measured. Crew ready. The first shot strikes too high. The second hits the weld. The steel breaks. A clean hole. No cheering. Just quiet understanding. This changes everything. Hours later, Hartmann lies beside his gun, pressed into the dirt.
Ahead of him, the ground vibrates.
14 T-34s roll into view. Their engines grow louder. Closer.
The plan demands patience.
Let them pass. Let them expose their sides. Every second stretches. Then the order comes. Fire. What happens next will decide whether Hartmann's discovery is a footnote or a turning point.
The first gun fires. The sound slams into the air like a hammer, sharp and violent.
Dust jumps from the ground.
The shell streaks across the open field and strikes the side of a moving T-34.
Metal screams.
The tank jolts, shudders, but keeps rolling.
Too high. Hartmann's stomach tightens. For a split second, doubt crawls in. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe the steel is thicker than it looked. Maybe this was all a mistake.
Then the gun fires again. This time the shell hits lower.
Right on the seam.
There is a sound no one has heard before on this front, not a bounce, not a scrape, but a hard, hollow crack.
Smoke bursts from the turret ring.
The T-34 rolls forward another few meters, then stops like something that has suddenly lost its will to live.
A hatch flies open. Black smoke pours out. No one cheers. They don't breathe. The second gun opens fire. Then the third. The valley erupts. Steel flies. Dirt explodes.
The calm of minutes ago is torn apart by noise, fire, and panic.
Soviet tank commanders spin their turrets wildly, searching for an enemy they didn't expect, from the side, from close range, from silence. One T-34 loses its track and skids sideways, helpless. Another takes a hit at the turret ring and begins to burn from the inside out. Flames lick through vision slits. A crew bails out, uniforms already on fire, bodies moving purely on instinct. Hartmann reloads without thinking. His hands move on their own. Open. Insert. Lock. Ready. The fourth tank turns toward his position. Head on. This is the nightmare. The front armor is thick. Sloped. Almost immune. For a moment, it feels like everything is about to collapse. But the T-34 must turn its turret to fire. And when it does, its side shows itself, just for a breath. Hartmann shouts. The gunner fires. The shell hits exactly where Hartmann once scraped soot away with a knife. The tank stops. Smoke rises slowly into the sky. In 14 minutes, it's over. 7 T-34s sit silent in the valley. Some burn. Some are broken. The rest retreat, firing wildly as they go, blind and angry and confused. German losses, 2 wounded. No dead. The men stare at the battlefield in disbelief. Yesterday, their guns were useless. Today, they have teeth. Captain Steiner walks over to Hartmann. His face is tight, controlled, but his eyes are alive. 7 tanks, he says quietly. With weapons everyone said were obsolete. He looks at the wrecks again. You changed the rules. Word moves fast in war. Within days, reports climb the chain of command. Maps are redrawn. Instructions rewritten. Pack crews are told to stop firing straight ahead. To wait. To hide. To let the enemy pass. Aim for the seam. Aim for the place no one looked before. Across the sector, German anti-tank units begin scoring kills again. Not miracles. Not massacres. But something they haven't had in weeks: balance. The numbers shift. And the Soviets notice. They always do. Captured T-34s are examined by Soviet engineers. Penetration patterns traced with chalk. The same spot appears again and again. The same thin ring. The same weld. Orders go out. Factories respond. Steel plates are added. Welds are reinforced. Speed drops slightly. Weight increases. The weakness begins to close. The window is small, but deadly. In those weeks, dozens of tanks that would have broken through instead burn in fields and valleys. Positions that would have collapsed hold just long enough. Hartmann does not feel like a hero. He feels tired. He continues fighting. Through heat. Through dust. Through the slow grind toward Stalingrad. He teaches others where to aim. He corrects them when they rush. He reminds them to wait. Patience becomes a weapon. By winter, he is pulled from the front and sent west. Not for rest, but to teach. In classrooms and muddy training grounds, he stands before young soldiers barely old enough to shave. He shows them photos of tanks. Points at seams. Explains angles. Tells them the truth no poster ever will. No tank is invincible, he says. You just have to look closer than the man inside it. Years later, historians will write about tactics and doctrine and production trade-offs. About speed versus perfection. About mass versus precision. But none of that captures the moment that changed everything. A soldier sitting beside his gun. Cleaning a rifle. Looking at a burned tank. And noticing something small enough for everyone else to miss. By the end of July 1942, the paperwork reaches the highest desks. Inside an office far from the smoke and screams, reports are stacked neatly in front of senior commanders. Numbers replace faces. Maps replace fields. But the meaning is impossible to ignore. Before the change, German anti-tank units were being erased. Guns destroyed faster than they could be replaced. Crews dying faster than they could be trained. After the change, the pattern flips. Tank losses drop. Soviet breakthroughs slow. Entire sectors that should have collapsed are still holding. Orders are signed. What began as an observation becomes doctrine. Across the Eastern Front, new instructions spread from unit to unit. Hide. Wait. Let the tanks pass. Shoot from the side. Aim for the narrow ring beneath the turret. It is not easy. Crews must resist the urge to fire early. They must let steel giants roll past them, close enough to feel the ground shake, close enough to smell fuel and hot oil. One mistake means instant death. But discipline saves lives. For a short, brutal window of time, German guns are no longer helpless. Then the enemy adapts. Soviet commanders notice patterns. Engineers study damaged tanks. Factory managers receive urgent orders. Reinforcement plates appear on new T-34s. Extra steel is welded over the vulnerable seam. The fix adds weight, slows the tank slightly, but closes the door Hartmann opened. By September, the advantage fades. Not gone. Just harder. War moves on, as it always does. Hartmann remains at the front through the fighting around Stalingrad. He sees the city burn. He sees men disappear into rubble and smoke. Many of the soldiers who used his method never make it home. He does. Late in 1942, Hartmann is pulled from the line and sent back to Germany. His new job is not fighting, but teaching. In training grounds outside Berlin, he stands before rows of young gunners. He shows them photographs of enemy tanks. He traces welds with his finger. He explains angles, patience, distance. But more than anything, he teaches them how to look. Every machine has limits, he tells them. If it didn't, wars would already be over. After the war, historians will credit factories, generals, production numbers. They will argue over strategies and supply lines. Few will remember a single soldier cleaning his weapon on a hot afternoon. Hartmann never talks much about it. He returns home after the war. Finds work as an engineer. Lives quietly. When asked about medals or achievements, he shrugs. I did what I had to, he says. Nothing more. When he dies years later, his family finds an old photograph among his belongings. A young man beside an anti-tank gun. Summer, 1942. On the back, someone once wrote, "The man who defeated the T-34." But Hartmann never defeated the tank. He proved something more important. That no weapon is perfect. No machine is untouchable. And sometimes, history turns not on firepower or orders, but on noticing what everyone else walks past. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more true World War II stories. Share your thoughts in the comments below.